Can you see my audience? I can't tell. Hold on. There's stuff to be for her promise. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills, and we shall never surrender. These are the words spoken by Winston Churchill to the House of Commons on June 4th, 1940. Most people remember Winston Churchill for his Iron Curtain speech during the Cold War. However, his speech, commonly known as "We Shall Fight on the Beaches," was an extremely influential one and was given on the heels of the Nazi Germany invasion into Eastern Europe. The presentation given by Winston Churchill not only invigorated the British soldiers, but also the people of the UK. He reassured his people of their land's lasting strength, as well as called on President Franklin Delano Roosevelt to aid the Allied forces. For those reasons, in his words will forever be known as one of the most important speeches of World War II. During the Second World War, the people of Europe were being badly beaten by the Nazis. The war had come into full swing, and German forces had begun to overwhelm the French. With the force and speed of the Blitzkrieg, the Germans hit the Allied forces before the British Expeditionary Forces could recoup from Belgium's surrender, allowing half of France's and Belgium's armies to be trapped by German forces, and France would soon fall to German occupation. The United States had not yet entered the war and had not planned to until the Zimmerman Telegraph and, more notably, the bombing on Pearl Harbor. But the Prime Minister's address was a frank call-out to President Roosevelt for aid from the United States. In his address to the House of Commons, Churchill used strong words and syntax to make his point clear and dignified, while still maintaining the attention of his audience. Winston Churchill is one of the most effective speakers the world's ever seen because he doesn't use extremely complicated words that would confuse some of his less educated audience members, but he does use complex enough syntax or sentence structure to keep the interest of some of his more educated viewers. Many speakers, especially ones of that time, because of the large gap between the wealthy, more educated, and the poor and less educated, use vocabulary that the latter group wouldn't understand, such as military jargon or large words. You can't rattle off SAT vocabulary to someone who hasn't ever had a family member go to college. Churchill managed to use mostly monosyllabic words while compiling them into non-original sentence structures that would keep his audience's attention. An example of this would be, these knights deserve our gratitude, as do all the brave men who, in so many ways and on so many occasions, are ready and continue to give life and all for their native land. In his profound words, Winston Churchill hardened British public opinion on a peaceful negotiation with Germany and prepared them for the rough war ahead of them. As a general rule, the people of Britain favored the idea of negotiating peacefully with the Germans to end the war. Churchill vehemently disagreed. Though he was unsure at times about a victory for Britain, to the public he expressed that he truly believed that the Germans would not take the British Isles without a fight. Because of his strong sentiment on the fight against the Nazis and the Axis powers, the people of Britain stood up and prepared themselves for total war. In the long run, the effect of this profound speech was actually a backbone for the United Kingdom that hadn't stood up for themselves in many, many years. As you've heard, Winston Churchill did more than just deliver a speech. He rejuvenated an entire nation. In his speech, he said, "I have myself in full confidence that if all do their duty, if nothing is neglected, and if the best arrangements are made as they are being made, we shall prove ourselves once more able to defend our island home, to ride out the storm of war, and to outlive the menace of tyranny, if necessary for years, if necessary alone." Churchill's words are well as strength set an example for the United Kingdom to remain strong in the time of weakness for the entire continent. Now I'll open it up for question and answers.
Why did Churchill oppose negotiations with Germany?
He viewed that Hitler was intent on European, if not world, domination, and that eventually destruction of the Jews. He understood that Hitler had clandestinely been reaming for a number of years that war was almost inevitable. The Munich Pact, which was the negotiations with Germany, would allow Britain to avoid an escalation of arms spending in difficult time for the economy, but Churchill saw that if, as he suspected, Hitler had little intention of honoring it, Britain would have no chance of building its military capacity to a point where it could effectively oppose the German might in time to do so.
Why did the British people favor negotiations with Germany?
The British people felt that it was too cumbersome and their country would suffer if they kept up war against Germany. Also, the British people felt that negotiations with Germany would keep them on top of world relations ladder.
Are there any other memorable speeches from that time?
We Shall Fight on the Beaches was the second of three major speeches given by Churchill during the Second World War. The first was Blood, Toils, Tears, and Sweat, and the third was This Was Their Finest Hour.
How did the U.S. and Roosevelt respond to the speech?
The United States had been assisting Britain with arms transfers and troops in Iceland. However, the U.S. remained out of the war in Europe until Germany and Italy actually declared war on the U.S. in December 11th of 1941.
Did the minister have any feelings about Hitler before the war began?
Yes, Churchill had actually been warning against the dangers of a strengthened Germany since Hitler first came to power. However, political blunders and unpopular views had left him in the political wilderness in the 1930s. Therefore, few people listened to his warnings. Thank you, and that is all.